Another aspect which data is used more and more so now is kind of head coach recruitment. So I want to touch upon a little bit on that, Paul, if we can. So in terms of, gone are the days when a team needs a new manager, the new manager comes in and everything's just changed, or, you want to bring someone in that fits into the philosophy that you've hopefully spent a lot of time building. So how do you think about kind of, well, you've had to do it in terms of bringing new managers. So how do you think about that? And if you can talk around that a little bit.
Okay. So again, data is a heavily used tool in terms of head coach searches now. I would think one thing that always used to frustrate me, was when a manager left his position and the club would announce that they would begin their search for a new manager, and I used to just shake my head and scratch my head and think, how can you? And I did a podcast recently around head coach search, and the head coach is probably the most important appointment that you're going to make during your time at your football club. Clubs were spending, I believe, and investing a lot of money in their recruitment departments for players, yet completely ignoring, to an extent, what coaches are doing out there. And so that's where, for me, I began to work just in terms of how you can profile head coaches, and it's important that when you do go to market, when you have to go to market, that it's aligned. These people are aligned with your vision and your strategy, and also aligned with your playing squad. You cannot. Gone are the days, again, I would expect, unless it's needed and unless it's a necessity, that you go down a completely different route. So you try your best to make sure that it's not too disruptive in terms of the squad, and you're radicalizing something completely different and bringing in a head coach who plays completely the different way to what all the hard work that the recruitment department have done in terms of bringing a squad of players together. And you just, again, unless it's really specific why you're doing what you're doing, it's important that you have not only the right person in terms of their game model and their coaching and playing philosophy, but crucially, you have the right person, the right human being in your environment, because you can have all these tools around you, but if that person doesn't fit with the values of the football club, then it's irrelevant of whatever you've done behind the scenes, because you're still going to come unstuck. So using data to help you search for a coach is going to be a crucial point and a crucial ingredient in probably shortlisting, which is, we extensively search hundreds of coaches to a point where you get to a long list, and then you filter that long list into a short list, and then to an even shorter list where you get to interview stage, which is pretty much where we got to last season.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially when you mentioned like clubs starting to look for their replacement. It's clubs nowadays are having almost the scouting coaches as they are scouting players, in terms of they're having that watch list, and they're always keeping tabs on who may be available, who what the situation is with up and coming coaches. But how do you kind of balance bringing someone in that fits the setup that you've got, Paul, but then you also, I would presume, you'd want someone with some fresh ideas as well. Not just someone that's just going to do the same. So how do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, because you may not want a clone of what you've previously had, because if that hasn't been successful, then why would you bring in somebody who's a clone of the previous occupant? And I'm not using Vince and Scott as a reference point there. I'm just saying that could be at any football club. It's important that you probably have a fine balance and a fine blend of some similar principles, but also looking at what might be needed within the group and within the playing style that might need to be tweaked. And again, it could be division specific. What's required in the Championship is very different to what's required in the Premier League, in terms of, certainly a club like us, when we got relegated, we were ball dominant in the Championship, high possession team. You come down from the Premier League to the Championship, more or less you're going to be faced with a low block. And so you're not faced with a low block in the Premier League because you're dealing with animals, complete robots who are just physically dominant and will get after you from day one. And they'll press the life out of you. They'll go man for man. They'll be really high. There will be spaces in behind. So you come to the Championship where clubs are going to be, happy to take a point if they can, and you're going to, which we found, we've been faced with a lot of teams that have played the low block against us. That requires a completely different type of player and a different methodology and game model. So it's important that when you do recruit your head coach, that he fits in with what you need, but also he has the ability to do something different.